Welcome to Thoughts on Thursday, Season 3, Episode 2. Today we're tackling reimagining mentoring. This session for me is all about asking all of you what mentoring is really about and what we should make it about at Otolo and in the community we're building. Really delighted to introduce Didi. So Didi joined us a couple of months ago, really strong background in research, far more credible than I in these kind of discussions. And so has been tasked with a couple of things. One is we've been surveying people of all levels across the industry. We've been holding one-on-one discussions and advisory boards with HR leaders, academia leaders, stateside and in Europe. And we've also been chatting obviously with young people and with hoteliers around what their thoughts are. So if anyone has further perspectives they want, I'm sure Didi would love to grab some time with you. But we're pulling all that together into a top secret publication, which we're unleashing on the world in a couple of weeks' time. But by sharing some of your time with us today, we are going to give you a little bit of insight into what we've found. So Didi, thanks for sparing the time. Over to you.
So as James said, the purpose of today is for us to really rethink what mentoring is, how it's done, and what's expected from both sides. So mentoring for us viewed as the third pillar, alongside teaching and on-the-job training for career success. Based on our research and insight, what we've gathered so far is that there's 3 effective forms or pillars of mentoring, and we plan to run this on our platform. So these are reverse mentoring, peer-to-peer mentoring, and the more traditional standard form of mentoring where a senior leader sort of guides a more junior professional. So I'll just share some quick sort of key messages from our research and open up for discussions and comments. So generally, mentoring is seen as a vital part of career and personal development. Done well, it's a mutually beneficial relationship for all parties involved. And the assumption that mentoring is only about a senior leader sort of helping a younger person is not entirely true, because the relationship between a mentor and a mentee is a two-way relationship. That's what we're hearing. And we're calling this mutual mentoring. So where each participant learns from each other and they both get something out of the mentorship. And it's clear also that there needs to be sort of a mutual understanding of certain values and principles, setting out the parameters as well for the mentorship to ensure that it's sustainable and beneficial for all involved. So the mentors should act, for example, as sounding boards, and certain attitudes such as respect and trust are so important to sustain that relationship, and understanding of values as well is vital. So reverse mentoring is where a more, let's say, junior professional actually mentors and guides a senior leader. It helps them with their continuous learning, which is very much desired by senior professionals. We're hearing this again and again. It's a brilliant way as well to get more senior people to understand graduate diversity and accessibility issues in the industry. Also, peer-to-peer mentorship is seen to be beneficial, as both parties will be on an equal level and can better relate to each other. At Otolo, we aim to embrace these sort of 3 key pillars of mentoring and facilitate the opportunities for continuous learning, career and personal development of hospitality professionals of all ages. For mentoring to be successful, it needs to come about in a more organic way.
Thanks, Didi. No, that's fab. Yeah, so tons to unpack there, quick, and again, more to come in our publication. But I think that this idea of mutual mentoring, that in a single discussion, actually everyone benefits. Who'd like to share a positive mentoring story where you or someone else you've been working with has had a great experience in the moment or had a great outcome, days, weeks or months later? We'd love to get people's perspective.
Last year obviously hit the industry hugely, and I've spent the best part of a decade working in the travel, leisure or hospitality industries in digital marketing positions. I was fortunate enough to keep my role. I have my own business, but I noticed a lot of my connections from within the travel and hospitality industries were either at risk of being made redundant or had already been made redundant. And off the back of that, I found this group called Hugs UK, standing for Hospitality United Group Support UK, and they had mentors and coaches from various industries. I volunteered to get involved in that group, and I actually was partnered with one of the mentors who was offering advice and trying to work with her to find out what more I could do. I guess really the mentorship for me it was very relaxed. There was no pressure from either side. It was very flexible. Jo Faraday was actually the mentor that I am speaking and referring to, and she was just absolutely brilliant in asking the right questions, making sure that she listened to my responses and also listening to my questions, because as someone who wasn't familiar to being a mentor and giving advice and asking the right questions of someone else, it was great to get her understanding. For me, that was a really positive experience. It was something that I didn't expect to come out of volunteering my time to try and help the industry as best as I could.
There's something there about relevance, right? I need to have this common interest and value, and know that you've been in the same space as me. And then I think you made some great points there, Lauren, around actually, I really need to know that you're asking the right questions and that you're listening. What difference did it have on you as a person?
It was the motivation side of things. It was knowing that I had someone I could say, hey, Jo, I've had a really bad week. I've applied for X amount of jobs, or I've put Goddard Digital forward for these different projects, but I'm not getting the responses, or they've all been negative. And I just need some reassurance, actually, that what I'm doing is the right thing. She didn't necessarily have all of the answers, but she was upfront about that. And what she did do was just be there as that listening ear.
Great, thanks for sharing, Lauren. Nicola, great to see you again. Hope you had a good week.
I was just going to refer back to when I was a trainee during my college time. We did a couple of years at college, then we had a whole year out. We actually went out to work in industry. And I went down to London and worked for a large contract catering organisation. And there was a particular manager that sprung to mind who looked after us as trainees, and obviously we were also mentees at that time as well. Not only took time to explain everything that we were supposed to be doing, but treated us in the same way that he treated everybody else. Went round every day to all the departments, spoke to everybody in a polite manner, remembered everybody's names, birthdays, special events, that type of thing. And if we were introduced to the other people, that explained exactly what we were supposed to be doing in each department. And if we came up with any issues, he would throw the question back saying, well, what do you think that you should do? How would you solve the problem? And then by talking it all through, we would find that we would be solving our own issue by talking through the pros and cons of it. He never ever got annoyed if we made a mistake, just made you feel positive and not afraid to learn on the job. But I think it was his very patient and quiet, calm manner, treat people the way that you would like to be treated.
I like that. So there's something there about, it's almost not even the topic of discussion, right? As a mentor, you're setting an example, right? You're kind of creating that informal but kind of professional setting where it's like, actually, we're going to work on this stuff. And for many people, perhaps it is their first kind of coaching experience where they're spending time on their career, they're spending time developing themselves. But I love that idea of just setting an example. I would love to flip it around and have you share some horror stories about bad mentorship experiences you had. And obviously we'll keep them all entirely anonymous. When's mentoring not worked? When have you had high hopes, I suppose, for a connection or some time with someone?
It started, and then that's pretty much where it ended as well. It was kind of disappointing because I was a new intern, freshly graduated. The company I was working was organizing a facilitated mentorship. So they would match me with someone else in the business that wasn't too close to what I was doing. We would get to know each other and there would be a mentorship relationship. But unfortunately, within the month or two that we started, we had 2 meetings, we got to know each other. She went on maternity leave for 1.5 years, and that's kind of pretty much where it all ended, which was disappointing because I really liked this person. I wanted to get to know her more, and she was very pragmatic and she was very straightforward, and I loved that. And I needed that at that point in my life as well. In addition to, I had a great manager as well. She was the perfect manager to have after graduation. I was looking forward to this mentorship because I was always told, you need to get a mentor, everyone needs a mentor, it's the greatest thing ever. And then I had this opportunity and it just disappeared. I was disappointed.
So something there around for your expectations and don't start something you can't finish, I suppose.
Yes.
That's really good. Dan.
Yeah, so I had an attempted mentor in my career where I had a GM, I was a food and beverage manager. and we didn't really get on together, and we actually disagreed about the way food and beverage should be operated and things like that. So we had a falling out, and then he came to see me and said, you know, would you like to get into a mentoring relationship with me, and we'll see, you know, if we can, you know, get around this. And he used those words. So I was well up for that, very keen, but it involved me sitting opposite him at his desk while he spoke at me for 45 minutes about hotel management and how it should be done. So I barely uttered a word apart from good morning or good afternoon, and then goodbye at the end of it. So it was used as a kind of negative. I think it was used as a foil to persuade me that he was right and I was wrong. So that's particularly bad example, that was.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's interesting, both those examples, you're being mentored by somebody internal to the organization.
Yeah.
So I've got two examples of being in organizations and being told I need a mentor in order to think about my next step up, my next promotion, which I think is probably quite common in an organization. Both times I was effectively given the person who would have been my next line manager. and it was everything that mentorship I'm learning is not. I was effectively a long interview of just, you know, what am I working on and what's going well and why am I ready for this next function? And it was, and in the end, one of them just became about a load of projects, and it became about two business units that weren't communicating. And I became this weird go-between where my mentor, future line manager, would just dump on me all of the problems he faced. I'd go back to my boss and be like, this is why we're not. I was like, this is, so I think sometimes mentoring within a company can come with quite a lot of baggage. Thank you for kind of sharing your perspective so honestly and openly. That's fab. You are our best ambassadors for this stuff. Ensure that people know far and wide that we're trying to have an impact and do a good thing in a tough time. So yeah, thank you all for coming and sharing openly, and catch as many of you as possible on Otolo, or we'll see you next week. So stay safe till then. Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Bye.
Everyone.